But right now in this time, we're being corrected and measured. This is Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 21. Because we serve a jealous power, and he's not a man that he shall lie. This is Deuteronomy 32 and 21. They have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with the foolish nation. Right? Job 30 and 8 says that Esau are children of fools, children of base men. This is who is lording over us in this present time. You know, a lot of our people, they don't have faith, like it says in Hebrews 11. Without faith, it's impossible to please our power. So they look at their condition and they feel like, hey, we're going to be perpetual slaves in this place. Why? Because they don't understand who they are, and they don't have the faith to receive these prophecies that let us know that, hey, the Most High has not cast us off. He has not brought us so far destruction. But we have to fulfill a sentence. Just like in this society, if you do a crime, you got to do the time. But the Most High has not cast us off, right? Let me bring this out in Isaiah 14, right? We locked up, but he has not thrown away the key. And we're going to get into the scattering, into the mystery of the Gentiles. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. And it reads, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. So, hey, if those people that are, you know, those small hats that have been in that land since 1948, if they were truly fulfilling prophecy, it wouldn't take an act of, you know, Arthur Rothschild, the Balfour Declaration, the British mandate to actually get them in their land. Because it says in Isaiah 14, when it comes down to the Lord's true people, this is how they'll be set in their land. It said, for the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. You see that? And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Right? It said that in Revelation 13 and 9. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Right? Isaiah 14 and 21. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers. This is exactly what is being quoted in Isaiah 14. Right? It said that when the Most High sets us in our land, the strangers, they're going to be joined to us. And we're going to be dishing out continual employment, and our gates are going to be open continually. These are all prophecies that pertain to the children of Israel, the true children of Israel, when the Most High sets us back in our land. Right? Not the Balfour Declaration, not Boeing 747. Right? But let me further prove that. Let me get this in the book of Amos 3. Because the Most High is not dealing with the nations that are round about, but rather the Israelites that are scattered amongst the nations. Right? This is why Amos 9 said there's going to be a sifting. Right? Let me get this in the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter. Most High said he's not done away with us. We're being corrected and measured. Hey, that's what it is. So we just have to do what? Be patient. Patience leading to a kingdom. That word patience means to suffer. Right? This is Amos, the 3rd chapter. Hear the word of the Lord. Hear the word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which are brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Right? It said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Right? Jeremiah 30 and 11. We're being corrected and measured like a father chastens a child. Right? We did wrong. So the Most High already told us in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, from verse 1 all the way down to verse 15, he said, if you obey my commandments, these are the good things. Right? And these are breadcrumbs to let you know who the children of Israel are today. right? We are the people of the curses. This is why those 1948ers had to exaggerate their burning, or that's what the word Holocaust means, because they wouldn't fit prophecy. Because the prophecy says, the prophecy of the Bible said that the Jews will be first fired, last hired. You have to eat your young. You'll have to go and be the lender and not the borrower. Every facet of society, your houses will be destroyed. The youth will be against the elders, and the elders will be against the youth. Men will have evil eyes towards their brethren. Women, guess what? They'll hate their children and they'll hate their men. And it's only one nation, one people in the earth that actually are under those conditions right now. And that's the children of Israel. We are the people of the curses. And hey, the people that call themselves Jewish, they don't even subscribe to the Bible. They subscribe to the Kabbalah and to the Talmud, right? It says in the Bible that the name of our power, Yahweh, is dreadful among the heathen. They have to call them by other titles and pronouns. Elohim, Adonai. Names like El, Allah, right? But the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he has a proper name that he gave to his children. Hey, and in that name, this is what the elect are tapping into in this time, to get an advantage, right? Esau, Edom, his advantage is his carnality, right? He's a base man, right? He's carnal through and through, proud. But the Lord's people are to be totally opposite. Our prowess is our spirituality. This is the advantage that we get in this time. And that's what we come out to proclaim. You know, that we're the Lord's people. And we must return to obedience. We must come back into the knowledge of the Holy Bible, the knowledge of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that what? The Most High can make sure on his word. Once those elect's foreheads are sealed, those elect, the elect written of in Revelation 7 and 4, and that great multitude written of in Revelation 7 and 9. Once the elect's heads are sealed, then the Most High is going to bring that destruction. Hey, and we're going to get into that great multitude, because when people hear about the great multitude of all people and tongues and nations, they want to pull out that John 3:16. For God so loved the world, and they want to apply salvation to all nations. When Revelations 21 and 12 lets you know, Revelations 21 and 12 lets you know that the entrance to the kingdom of heaven, it has 12 gates. But it didn't have a 13th gate for a 13th tribe, or for the heathen nations that are outside of the royal family of 12, that nobility, right? So hey, I just want to continue to just stay rolling in the scriptures. Let me bring this out in Amos 3 one more time. Hear the word of the Lord have spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Right? It said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Right? Has God changed? Right? Let me get this in the book of Galatians. The Most High said these nations are like unto spittle. He's not dealing with them. Right? He's married unto us. You only have I known. So has God changed? Right? We're going to get on Hebrews 8 and 8, the new covenant as well as the old covenant, because all of that brings forth understanding on the mystery of the Gentiles. Right? Let me get this in the book of Galatians. This is the book of Galatians, chapter 6, and I'm going to start with verse 7. And it reads, be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. I'm looking for something else. Let me see if it's in Malachi 3 and 6. Let me get this in the book of Malachi. This is the book of Malachi. I know it's either in Galatians or it's in the book of Malachi. This is the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6. Hey, thank the Heavenly Father. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Right? It said, I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. Right? Let me get this in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 8. Right? So the Most High told you he has not dealt so with any nation. So, hey, line upon line, precept upon precept, it's not going to add up if it's not true. And the Most High is not dealing with these nations that are round about, but rather, he's dealing with the remnant of his people that are scattered in all nations, speaking every tongue. That's the mystery of the Gentiles. And hey, I have to go through all of these precepts just to substantiate the precept that I'm about to bring out in a moment. And this is the book of Hebrews. Hebrews 13 and 8. Because our power he changes not. This is what the heathen roundabout will love to be the fact that our God is a change of power. No. The promises that he made with our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're still intact to this day. Right? This is Hebrews chapter 13 and 8. It says, Yahweh Shai, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Right? He changes not. Therefore, the sons of Jacob are not consumed. Right? Because in this time, there are people that are trying to say that, hey, the things that are beneficial for us, they are to be afforded to the nations round about. Let me get this in Baruch 4. Let me get this in Baruch 4. And what does Scripture say? Are we supposed to give the covenants, the giving of the law, the administration of the law, all the good things? Are we supposed to give that to nations that the Most High look at as spittle? That the Most High looks at as dust that falls from a balance? Right? It said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. And God is not like man that changes with every, wind of doctrine. No. This is why the spirit of Yahweh Shai in Revelation 19 and 10 is the spirit of prophecy. Because there's no prophecy that is written that's going to be left unturned. Right? As it pertains to these other nations, it says in Baruch chapter 4, verse 6. I'm going to start with Baruch 4 and 4. O Israel, happy are we, for things that are pleasing to God are made known unto us. Be of good cheer, my people, the memorial of Israel. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved God to wrath. Right? For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils. But here's the point right here. Baruch 4 and 3. Give not thine honor to another, nor the things that are profitable unto thee to a strange nation. Right? It said, give not thine honor to another, nor things profitable unto thee to a strange nation. Right? And what's profitable unto the children of Israel? Hey, to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of our abilities. Right? It said that in Psalms 50 and 16, seeing that these heathen hate instruction and cast the Most High's ways behind their back, that's why it's not going to be profitable to try to push our ways on the nations that are round about. Right? This is Isaiah chapter 48. And I'm going to start with verse 9. Isaiah 48 and 9 read, For my sake, for my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise I will refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Right? The Most High has not done away with us. Let me bring this out one more time. Isaiah 48 and 9 reads, For my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. For mine own sake, even for mine own sake will I do it. For how shall my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory to another. Hearken unto me, O Jacob and Israel, my call. I am he, I am the first, I am also the last. Right? This is Yahweh Shai. This is why in the book of Colossians it says, whatever we do in name or in deed, do it by giving thanks to the Father through the Son. Right? Our Creator, as pursuant to Genesis 1 and 26, is not Yahweh, but rather his Son Yahweh Shai. Proverbs 8 and 22 lets you know that this is the first spirit created. Colossians 1 and 15, it echoes those same sentiments. A lot of people don't have the understanding on even who their Creator is. Right? Let me bring this out one more time in Isaiah 48:9. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. Right? It says that in Zechariah 13:8. Right? The 2/3 will be cut off and die, but that 1/3, we're going to be refined. I'm actually going to get that next before I jump into the scattering and go into the mystery of the Gentiles. Right? It said, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. Right? This is the valley of the shadow of death. This is what it does. Anything that's impure, this is what we're supposed to, burn off in the same fashion of metal or an alloy being purified in fire. That fire actually purifies that alloy. If there's a raw resource like gold, if it's found in the dirt, what you'll do to get that dirt off is put it in the fire. The fire burns off the impurities. And this is exactly what it's saying here. This is Isaiah 48:10. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. Right? This is how the elect are going to be refined. Let me get this real quick in the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 8. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, in verse 8. Bear with me, Akim, I'm short-handed. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 8. This is why it says in Romans 11:7, the elect have obtained it, but the rest are blinded. The elect have obtained the understanding of the scriptures. What's necessary to please our power in spirit and in truth. Zechariah 13:8, it says, and it shall come to pass that in the land, said the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the 3rd part shall be left therein. And I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my power. Right? So this is just lending more credibility to the scriptures. In a land where we've been put to shame, where we've been totally devoured and discontinued from our heritage, and this land is where we're going to call on the name of our power and be elevated as the praise of the earth once again. The children of Israel actually resurrected. That's what the nations are witnessing round about. Ezekiel 37:10, that exceeding great army. Right? Hey, and the nations, they know that this is just a harbinger of things to come. Right? Us waking up to who we are and being obedient, this is how this society comes to a quick and abrupt end. Right? Zechariah 13:9 one more time. And I will bring the 3rd part through the fire, and I will refine them as silver is refined, and I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. And I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my power. Right? So through the furnace of affliction, we've been brought low, not to be destroyed. Right? And we've been scattered across the 4 corners of the earth. This is why every week when I open up, I say that this is for not only the so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans of Negroid and Indian descent, but it's also open to the Israelites that are scattered in every land, speaking every tongue. Right? Let me go ahead and start this off with Psalms 44:11, because I want to go into the scattering that we had to undergo. This is an adverse effect of us going into exile, us being disobedient. Now you will know who your brother is by his phenotype. You will know who your brother is by his land of origin. You will know who your brother is by his language of origin. You won't know who your brother is by his skin complexion, because the Israelites go from charcoal to chalk white. Every color and variation is embodied by our nation. So this is why the scriptures tell us not to judge according to outward appearance, because you're going to err. Right? But having a proper understanding, you know the mind that you should be in. It's a spiritual thing that's going on. Romans 8:16 lets you know it's the spirit that bears witness with our spirit. Not the facial feature, the land of origin, the language of origin, the religion that your parents indoctrinated you into. That's not how you're going to know that you're a child of God. Your ability to actually conform to the ways of the Bible and have the faith to appreciate them and apply them, that's how you'll know that your spirit is actually of an Israelite that's scattered or an Israelite that's in the land, right? Because right now I'm a scattered Israelite, right? I was in the mind of being an American. I was raised in plantation Christianity. So I'm a Gentile, right? Let me bring this out in Romans 1:7. We're going to start off with Paul. Paul was known as a prophet to the Gentiles, right? And in Paul's letters, he was addressing them to the Gentiles that were actually in, you know, what you would call Greece and Rome at that time, right? And when he addressed his letters to these Israelites, you'll see in the address exactly who he was addressing his letters to. This is Romans chapter 1, verse 7, and it reads, "To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Yahushua." So Paul, the prophet to the Gentiles, he actually, in Romans, the 1st chapter and the 7th verse, he was addressing those Gentiles that were in Rome. Let me bring this out one more time. "To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace to God our Father and the Lord Yahushua." So this is just like if I were to send a letter to my brother in Afghanistan. Although he might be among the Afghanistanians, the way that I address the heading of the letter lets you know who I'm speaking to, right? Whenever you get a letter, it's going to have a recipient, who that letter is being addressed to, right? So one more time, Umar Johnson style, saying everything 3 times. Romans 1:7, it says, "To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Yahushua," right? So this is a critical aspect of the scriptures, right? It says that in Psalms 119, 104, "Through thy precepts we get understanding." Proverbs 4:7 said, "Hey, wisdom is the principal thing, but with all thy getting, get understanding." Through what? The precepts, line upon line, precept upon precept. So in Romans 1:7, Paul wrote and addressed his letter to all those that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints. So who are the beloved of God according to the Bible, right? Let me get this in the book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 36. We're going to tackle this today. This is Baruch chapter 3 and verse 36. It reads, "He hath found out all the way of knowledge, and have given it unto Jacob his servant, and to Israel his beloved." It says that at the end of Exodus, the 2nd chapter, the Most High has respect unto Israel, that seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So in Romans 1:7, it said, "To all that be in Rome, beloved of God." Who are the beloved? One more time. This is Baruch chapter 3, verse 36. It reads, "He hath found out the way of knowledge, and have given it unto Jacob his servant, and also to Israel his beloved." So his beloved is Israel, right? Going right back to the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 7, we're going to deal with this line upon line, precept upon precept, right? The book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 7. Let's go back one more time because we dealt with the beloved. Romans 1:7, "To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints," right? So we know who the beloved of God are, but who are the saints of God, right? Let me get this real quick in Psalms, chapter 148, verse 14, right? This is Psalm chapter 148, verse 14, and it reads, "He also exalted the horn of his people, the praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. A people near unto him, praise ye the Lord." Right? So it lets you know the beloved, Baruch 3:36, are Israel, and the saints Psalms 148 and 14. The saints are Israelites. So when Paul was addressing his letter to all them beloved of God called to be saints, he was addressing Israelites that were in Rome. But let's go into the scattering real quick to prove that there were Israelites that were in Rome, right? And we're going to go into what it takes to become a Gentile, right? I'm going to start off with Psalms chapter 44, and I'm going to start with verse 11. This is Psalms chapter 44 and 11, and it reads, "Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for me." One more time. Psalms 44 and 11, it said, "Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen." Right? Psalms 44 and 11, once more. "Thou hast given us like sheep appointed for meat, and hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and dost not increase thy wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people." Right? It says that in Lamentations 2 and 15. The nations, they hiss. In Lamentations 2, right? It says how the nations, they hiss, they wag their hands saying, "Is this the perfection of beauty?" Why? Because the Most High made good on his word to cast us off. Look, this is Lamentations 2 and 15. It says, "All that pass by clap their hands at thee. They hiss and wag their hand at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? All thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss, they gnash the teeth, they say, We have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we look for. We have found, we have seen it." Hey, Jeremiah 30 and 16, "All they that devour thee shall be devoured." And we have been devoured in this place, right? But the elect are going to be those men that the Most High is going to pour his spirit on them to execute all the judgments that are written, even when it comes back to payback and recompense, right? It says that in Sirach 25 and 7, right? It's a beautiful thing to see the fall of your enemies. And this is the, the good thing. It said, "Give not thy glory to another." This is a part of the glory that the saints and the elect are going to be able to partake in with our power, right? Luke 19 and 27. "Them that wish that I will not reign over them, bring them hither and slay them before me." Who's going to be doing the bringing? Who's going to be doing the slaying? Psalms 149 and 5. Let the saints, right? Let me get that in Psalms. Let me get that in the book of Psalms, right? Because we just touched on the saints. This is chapter 149 in the book of Psalms. Psalms 149 and 5 reads, "Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen, and punishment upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord." Baruch 4, "Give not what is profitable unto thee to a strange nation." These nations are going to have to pay for touching the apple of the Most High's eye, right? I was just in the book of Psalms 49. I was in the book of Romans, right? So then we just jumped to the book of Psalms. Psalms chapter 49 and 11, just jumping right back. It says, not Psalms 49 and 11, Psalms 44 and 11. Jumping right back into Psalms 44, and I'm going to start with 14. "Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people," right? And that's why we touched on Lamentations, right? Let me bring this out in the book of Isaiah 11 and 10, right? "Because thou hast scattered us." So before you understand the mystery of the Gentiles, what I'm going to right now is the proof that we've been scattered among the nations. Isaiah 11 and 10 is going to prove that exceptionally well. Isaiah 11 and 10 reads, And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass that in that day the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar and Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. Right? But the point is, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover his people. When was the first time the Lord recovered us? Right? The Egypt of antiquity. We've been brought to a new Egypt as pursuant to Deuteronomy 28 and 64. I'm sorry, Deuteronomy 28 and 68. And this is going to happen all over again. Wherever the Lord's people are scattered, the Most High is going to sift us from among these lands. But let me prove that one more time. Isaiah 11 and 10. It said, it shall come to pass that in that day the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Cush, from Elam, from Shinar and Hamath. Right? It said, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Right? So that gathering that he's going to set his hand a second time to recover his people from these lands is going to be a gathering of Israelites. Because it said, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations. Right? That's that nation sign behind me. And shall assemble the outcasts. Who is he gathering together? The people that were dispersed across the diaspora, the outcasts. Right? And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Right? It said that they're dispersed. Right? So let's prove real quick. Let me get this in the book of John. We get this in the book of John, chapter 7, 30 and verse 35. Because I want to prove real quick, can the children of Israel, although you are a part of the Commonwealth, you have a mother that's an Israelite, a father that's an Israelite, is that just a fixated status that everyone is afforded in our nation? No matter what you do, you're going to be an Israelite. You're going to be treated as an Israelite. Even though you might not conduct yourself as an Israelite in name or in deed, can that status be taken away from you? And the answer is yes, and I want to prove that real quick. Because this is why Paul was going to the beloved and those saints in Rome, and he was trying to get them to bethink themselves, remember who they were, come back into the Commonwealth. He knew that their deeds had separated them from being a part of our sovereign nation. Right? Jeremiah 2 and 21 lets you know we're nobility. The Most High said, I planted you a noble branch. How have you turned into a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? Let me get that real quick. This is Jeremiah. This is Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 21. And it reads, Yet I planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? So even though the Most High planted us as nobility from the foundations of the earth, in our degenerate state deed, meaning against generation your kind, you're going against your forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in deed and actions. That's what it is to be degenerate, right? By following the ways of the heathen that are round about, right? This is Jeremiah 2 and 21. Let me bring this out one more time. It says, Yet I planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How art thou turned into a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? So hey, the Most High is making a distinction, even concerning his own people. I created you one way, and you've actually devolved into a whole nother way. Right? Let me prove this in the book of Matthew. So it lets you know that, hey, even though we were planted as nobility, we lost that status, right? Even to this day. You know, the Most High, he put his name on us, but hey, we still have to deal with all the curses written. This is Matthew chapter 15. I'm sorry. This is Matthew chapter 18 and verse 15. Just to prove that although you're nobility, you're royalty, based upon your actions and based upon your ability to observe these laws, statutes, and commandments, that status of being nobility, that holy right seed, can be stripped from you. And I'm going to prove that. This is Matthew 18 and verse 15. It says, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall not hear thee, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, Matthew 18 and 15, this is conflict resolution in the scriptures. Matthew 18 and 15 reads, moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take one or two more, that the mouth of two or more witnesses, every word may be established. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man and a publican. Right? So this is conflict resolution. Here, if your brother offends you according to our laws, go to your brother. And if you can't go to your brother, make sure you get a witness, because you could be wrong. But if it is definitive that your brother is wrong and he doesn't want to bend the knee, repent, ask for forgiveness and change, it said, write him off as a heathen man and a publican. Now, this is an Israelite that's a part of your tribe, a part of your nation, but hey, there are certain conditions to being an Israelite, right? There are certain things you must eat. There are certain ways you must conduct yourself. There are certain ways you must sacrifice. There are certain civil standards, principles, morals, and values that you must observe and maintain, right? Because, hey, the Most High can do what? Reject you. Like it said in Romans earlier, right? The Most High can give you over to your own delusions. He can give you over to a reprobate mind, right? The Most High doesn't need anybody in this nation, especially at this time. The curses are so heavy and we're in exile. So do you think the Most High, he's already angry with us? This is why he brought us low, right? But the Most High's giving his mind to his men in this time. And the mind that his men have is to be long-suffering. This is why we come out. Amos 8 and 11 talks about the famine of the word. When the Most High is going to shut up his mouth, which is his prophet's mouth, and it's going to be a crying for wine in the streets. So our people are not going to be able to readily receive answers for sincere questions that they might have pertaining to the Bible, in relation to the Bible, right? So, hey, going right back into even in this time, repentance, being humble, that's important, because the Most High rejects. Just because you're an Israelite, the Most High can reserve you unto outer darkness, right? He can put you in the lot of Zechariah 13 and 8, the lot of the 2/3 that are going to be cut off and die here. Amos 5 and 18 style, a plethora of ways that the Most High has appointed them to receive their judgment, right? So the point I was making, hey, there's no one that has just a permanent status as an Israelite in good standing. That status is something that you can gain as well as something you can lose, right? It's just like pork. Pork is inherently unclean. So it's nothing that you can do to purify or wash or clean pork to make it lawful for consumption, right? But in the same breath, you can have a piece of chicken that's lawful. That piece of chicken can hit the ground and become defiled. But can that chicken be cleaned up and made lawful for consumption again? Yes. That chicken can be washed, that chicken can be purified, and that chicken could be eaten again. This is the Gentiles, right? Not the natural Gentiles, because Gentile is actually a term that can be, interchangeable. You have the natural Gentiles, who are the 17 nations that come out of Adam. Then you have an Israelite that has fallen away from his nationality, from his heritage, that's fallen away from his sovereign status, that is totally disregarded his constitution, and is, even though biologically you're an Israelite, psychologically, spiritually, you are a heathen, right? And this is the mystery of the Gentile. Paul was not going to the natural Gentiles, but rather the Israelites that were scattered among the Gentiles, but that were beloved of the Most High, called to be saints, that it did what? Fall from their calling, right? But let me further prove that, hey, a Gentile is an Israelite that totally fell away from their responsibilities, right? This is John chapter 7, verse 35. It reads, "Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will we go that we shall find him? Will we go to the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?" Right? So these are disciples. They actually made a distinction. Should we go to the dispersed that are among the Gentiles to teach the Gentiles? Right? Should we go to the dispersed Israelites that are among the Gentiles and teach them? Right? This is John 7 and 35. Bringing this out one more time. "Then said the Jews among themselves, Whither will we go that we shall not find him? Will we go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?" Right? They made a distinction, and this is what you have to deal with. This is why Revelations 1 and 3 said, "Blessed is he that readeth." Because, hey, Nehemiah 8 and 8, we bring out the senses. That should actually make you scratch your head. They're dispersed among the Gentiles. So, hey, in 70 AD, our land was sacked, and what happened? We were dispersed among the nations. So among all nations, like it says in Isaiah 11 and 10, the Most High is going to set his hand a second time to recover his people from among those nations, right? Let me bring this out in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 11. It reads, "Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision in the flesh by Salakia." This is Ephesians 2 and 11. "Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the uncircumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Yahushua, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise." See, this is what you got to deal with. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 11. Listen to this. It said, "Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh," not in the spirit, but our deeds are what made us Gentiles, "who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Yahushua, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenant of promise, having no hope and without God in the world." But now, in Yahushua HaMashiach, who sometimes were far off, are made nigh by the blood of Yahushua, right? So it said, "Wherefore remember that ye being in times past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision," right? So look, although on the 8th day, you can be a male of our nation and you can get circumcised, but just because you go through that ritual, you go through that custom, you can still be made uncircumcised, right? And let me prove that point real quick. This is Romans chapter 2, verse 25, because there was always a variance between the Israelites that were in the land of Judea and the Israelites that were scattered abroad. Those Israelites that were in the land and that were observing the ways of their nation, and they weren't putting our nation to an open shame, they were calling those Israelites that were in Rome, in Greece, they were calling them uncircumcision, right, by the flesh, because they saw them eating pork, right, making sacrifices to Diana, the queen of Ephesus, baking cakes to their idols. So they called them the uncircumcision, but let me prove that.